Hello. Put in my magic thing over my face. How is everybody? Right. So I'm gonna just do a quick video about social media addiction. I've got a couple of notes. But basically what I've noticed over the past few days, the more that I don't go on social media, obviously the more I'm not drawn to my phone. Although actually what I've noticed is that I still pick my phone up and like kind of look at it. It's almost like I wanna find something, but then I don't see anything, and then I just put my phone down. Or actually sometimes because I do still get some notifications on my phone, like emails, or what else is there? I can't remember. I'm getting a couple of things on my phone and notification type things. I see the notification, but then I don't actually press it to look at it because I don't really care about it. It's like I know that the reward is just not really, I don't know, worth looking at, but I still get the desire to see if there's something there. So anyway, so I noticed that started happening, and I did a little bit of research, and it's quite kind of just mind-blowing really how the whole sort of addiction of social media and stuff works. So it's all to do with dopamine, and there's quite a lot of conflicting information out there where people are saying that you get dopamine when you are looking at Facebook or other social media sites, and then you're getting this dopamine hit that makes you happy. But it doesn't quite work like that. It's a lot more complicated than that, and I'm not going to go into obviously all of the science. I'm no expert or anything, but I have read up on a lot of this stuff. But it is mostly to do with dopamine, and it's almost like a problem with our biology, I guess, because what happens is, say for instance, I watched this YouTube video which explains this really well. I'll link that in the description. Say for instance we want a cheeseburger. Now, if we've never had a cheeseburger before, there won't be any dopamine spikes or anything like that. But we go and get a cheeseburger, and we get a cheeseburger and eat it. And what happens, because we're having that for the very first time, we get a spike of dopamine. So say for instance, the next time we want a cheeseburger, we think of a cheeseburger, we get a dopamine spike. Or say we're driving and we see a billboard sign and it's say McDonald's or something, we'll get a dopamine spike. And what it's doing is it's saying, oh yeah, you remember that time that we got something, we got a reward? Well, we really want that now, so go and get it. And then say for instance we make the decision, we go, okay, well I've made the decision now, I'm going to go to McDonald's. You start driving and you're getting closer and closer, then you might even see the McDonald's, and then you'll get another dopamine spike, and it's yeah, this is the right way. Anyway, we finally get there and we finally eat the burger. No dopamine. The dopamine doesn't spike anymore. It doesn't actually give us any more dopamine. Our dopamine levels just stay normal level, and we only get those spikes when we see the cues or think of the cues. Now, the reward is obviously we're not going to be hungry anymore, and we also have other chemicals that allow us to sort of give us some sort of pleasure feedback. But the pleasure feedbacks aren't anywhere near as high as the dopamine spikes. And they actually proved this with a study they did on rats, where these scientists blocked the dopamine receptors in the rats, and when they had the dopamine, they obviously motivated to eat. But when they shut off their dopamine receptors, they had food there in front of them, right, very accessible, but they had no desire to actually seek the food, and these rats just literally just died from starvation because they had no desire whatsoever. The dopamine wasn't present for them to actually seek the food, and the reward of eating the food was less than them actually surviving. So like they were just like, I'd rather die than just get the reward of eating. So like dopamine is really important for us to survive. In terms of things like eating food, it's really important. But the only problem is when social media comes into play, we basically, what we're doing is, because of like instant gratification, we can go on our phone, we can see these notifications, or our phone is like buzzing every 5 minutes or something, or we can just glance at our phone, we can see these notifications, and what I do is I sort of categorize it in two separate things, right? You've got notification and then reward. And notifications are anything that's like a comment or a like, or a tweet or a text message or an email, and you can just see that there's a notification. And what we're doing is we're seeking for that information. We're seeking for that notification. And then the reward is us clicking on it or looking at it or opening it up. And then the reward is things like recognition or acceptance. I've written a couple of down earlier. Was it social status, fulfillment, approval, anything that kind of almost like satiates the initial desire. It's like, well, I'm trying to seek this thing, and the seeking is the dopamine spikes, but the reward is very low. The actual chemical, the things that actually happen in our brains, the responses of the reward are nowhere near as high as the dopamine. So when we've got all this dopamine and all this activity going on in our brains, we're like, yeah, like we really want to get like this information. You finally get the information, and it's just like, oh, was that it? And then because of that, we start searching again. We start like looking on our phones for something else, or scrolling, constantly scrolling, like just because we're seeking for that high. We're literally trying to seek for that rush in reward, but we never get that reward because the reward that we actually get is like nowhere near as satisfying as all this dopamine that we were getting. Like we're getting all this activity from dopamine, and then we finally get the reward, and the reward is just like this measly little sort of chemical reaction. And then the other problem as well, which is a very big problem, is we get desensitized to the dopamine. So say for instance we get like 10 notifications. We go on Facebook, we look at the notifications, do the little round world thing, and it's got like 10 notifications, and you think, oh, that's nice, and then you press it and you get this dopamine. It's like yeah, seek, make sure, like that's what we wanted to see, seek it. So you get the the dopamine comes in, and then we press it, and then we get the reward, and the reward is just low. And then the next time that we get the same amount of notifications, it doesn't give us the same amount of dopamine. It gives us less. So to get the same amount of dopamine, to get the same like desires to come in, we need way more notifications. So Now you could have someone who's just got like just looks at their phone, and say they're like someone who's like famous or someone who's just really popular. They just look at their phone and they go, oh, I've got like 50 notifications on my phone, man, whatever. It's, that's nothing to me. You're just like, well, this is just what I'm used to. So what's the answer then? Well, the answer, what do we do about this, is one thing we can do is turn off all cues, or just have as minimal amount of cues as we can. Another thing would be to just limit the amount of time we use social media. Maybe just go on social media just like an hour in the middle of the day or something. Try not to go on social media in the morning, and try not to go on social media just before bed, because those are two things we have to do every single day. And if the only times that we go on social media is as soon as we wake up and as soon as we go to bed, then we're automatically putting in these cues to go on our phone, trying to train our brain in not relying on our phone so much. Another thing we can do activities with like delayed gratification. So if every single time that we want to be like stimulated, it's something that we can achieve like right now, then we're never going to want to do any activities that are like really prolonged gratification. Whereas if we try and limit ourselves from these instant gratification apps and do more activities that are much more prolonged gratification, then we start to appreciate those things more often. So things like doing a puzzle, or going for a walk, or going for a hike. And I was thinking about this earlier, and it actually kind of made me think of almost like a metaphor, is that it's all about the journey. It's nothing to do with the end goal. And when we're using our phones, when we're on Facebook, we're never really thinking about the journey. We're always thinking about that end goal. Our brains have ended up making us wired for that end goal, like that instant gratification, but it never comes, because the thing that we're actually addicted to is the seeking part. So let's just like use this as a metaphor. Let's say, for instance, we put out a status or something online, but for us to be able to see the status or to see any response, it's at the top of a mountain. So we need to go and climb this mountain or go for a big hike for us to go and see and to get the reward. Well, the reward is amazing, but actually it's the whole journey. The journey of like, putting on the right clothes and putting on the right shoes, and like meeting up with a bunch of people and going on this amazing hike. It's everything that you do in between, and then once you're up there, that you get the reward. But it's not just about the reward, it's about how you got there and the experiences that you had on the way up. And if you think of it like, think of Facebook as like, oh, you're scrolling, you're trying to seek, that's the journey. So enjoy reading about people's lives and learning more about the things that you're doing, and try not to focus so much on actually attaining the reward. So I think that's kind of about it, really. I don't know whether I've got that through to everybody, but that's just the way that my brain understands things. It's definitely helped me sort of clarify and understand what's actually going on in my head when using these apps and stuff. So just wanted to do this sort of video about social media addiction because I think it's really important, and obviously it's got a lot to do with this whole 30-day challenge that I'm doing, and this whole sort of social media detox has got a lot to do with it. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.